from time to time. But then I remember that they want us to feel hopeless. They want us, as Romney said, to feel helpless. They want us to think that what's happening right now is inevitable and impossible to stop. That's how these people win power, hold on to power, grow that power, and leave the people completely out of power. From the day that he was named chancellor in January of 1933, it took Hitler just 53 days to destroy German democracy. His constitutional authority, every time he defied the German constitution, every time he broke the law of that land, the German press, the German politicians, and most importantly, the German people did far too little, far too late. At every turn in those 53 days, there was an opportunity to stop him. There was nothing about him that was inevitable. But in 53 days, he goes from being this, buffoonish thug who can barely hold power to the undisputed master and dictator. Those who lived there at that time felt hopeless. They felt helpless. They thought this was inevitable. They didn't believe that they could stop it. In the 7 months since Donald Trump has been sworn in to the highest position of public trust in this land, he has defied the co-equal federal courts. He's dismantled congressionally chartered and mandated agencies and departments. He has colluded with corrupt public officials. He's covered up the crimes and potentially his complicity with child sex traffickers and rapists in this country. And he has dispensed with nearly every constitutional protection and safeguard that for the last 249 years, Los Alamos has kept us a nation of laws and not one of kings. And now he seeks to grab even more power. It sees 5 congressional districts right here in the state of Texas. And let me make sure that everyone understands the stakes and the terms of this fight, because I guarantee you, he does. If he's unable to maintain control of the House of Representatives in 2026, if he can steal that election now in the summer of 2025, then there will be no check on his lawlessness. There will be no accountability for his crimes and his corruption. There will be likely free and fair elections going forward in 2028 and beyond. Those are the terms for him, for us. Those of us who are alive right now are so lucky to be on this planet and in this country and have the chance with 15 months to go to give everything we have, no matter where we are in this beautiful place. We happen to be in the most beautiful that I can think of. If you look out these windows, and I'm so glad that Jasmine and Joaquin are up on the stage. You can see the mountains, you see our valleys, the Sugar Valley, these people. Some folks despair. They're like, why was I so unlucky to be around right now in Donald Trump's second term? Why do I have to go through all these things that we just heard about from every speaker who preceded me? My bad luck. No, fuck that. Our extraordinary fortune to be alive and breathe. How many American generations have the chance to save their country at its moment of truth? We pity those who are not born in this generation. We don't have a chance to fight the mother of all battles for the future of our country. That is who we are here today. So we need to understand as well, because if we fail to win a majority in the House of Representatives in 2026, I believe, and that's why I gave you that analog from German history in 1933, that the consolidation of authoritarian power in the hands of this president will be nearly unstoppable. And what that means for all of us is more masked, plainclothes, federal agents without warrants or badges, sweeping our fellow Americans up off the streets. It means that more of Trump's political opponents will be targeted for vengeance and retribution, and yes, even for political violence. And it means more likely than not that a Republican majority Congress will roll out the royal red carpet for a Trump third term. That is our future. That is our fortune. That will be our fate unless we stand and fight right now. And look, those folks can be forgiven for thinking that we are going to submit and to bend the knee. Because look at the Ivy League universities. Harvard, which just settled for $500 million. Columbia for $200 million. Look at the big law firms on the East Coast that have committed hundreds of millions of dollars of pro bono work for the president's chosen priorities, and will never again defend anybody who challenges this would-be autocrat or tyrant. Look at Paramount and CBS firing Stephen Colbert, one of the last places we do get the real news on our television anymore.
Exactly.
Look at even some present company excluded in our own party, who seek to conciliate and compromise, and yes, sometimes submit or even are advised to roll over in the face of what's happening in this country. So they can be forgiven for thinking that might happen here. But that was before they met the Texas Democrats, who were rather look at us in power of people who have started one of the largest voter registration organizations in the country. In the state where it's harder to cast a ballot or to register to vote than in any other in the union. An organization has also been supporting this fight to stop the steal of these 5 congressional seats. That fight has brought the wrath of Ken Paxton on our back, who sued us in Tarrant County Court to try to put us out of business. But what Ken Paxton, Donald Trump, Greg Abbott don't understand is that in this state, especially in this city, our knees do not bend. Despite his call to put me behind bars and accuse me of criminal contempt, my hearing is later this month. Depending on what happens, you all might need to mail me a cake. We did not react. We didn't respond. We didn't fight back. We got off the back foot onto the front, off of defense onto offense. We took the fight to him. We sued him here in El Paso. Thanks to our amazing attorney, Lynn Coyle, we defeated Ken Paxton and still they're not used to people fighting back. When we fight them, we will win. I promise you, but we have to commit ourselves to this fight. No matter how intimidating it seems, no matter how hopeless we are sometimes tempted to feel, as Jasmine said, the real power in this country is with the people. For as long as we are a government of, by, and for the people, this room right here is the real center of power in America, but we have got to use it. So, in addition to joining all the organizations that Veronica Escobar is going to hold us accountable for, she's going to check your registration before you leave. There is a congressional seat that is part of El Paso County that we have to win and flip blue. Tony Gonzalez, who represents County. As soon as we have a candidate, Veronica, you're going to tell us who that person is that we all have to get behind. I want everyone in this room to commit to block walking, knocking on doors, meeting the people who live in the district, helping that Democrat, unseat that Republican. They only have a 3-vote advantage in the House of Representatives right now. That's why they're trying to steal these 5 seats. As Joaquin made clear, it is not popular to cut millions of people off of Medicaid. It is not popular to run these Gestapo tactics all across this country. It is not popular to add nearly $4 trillion to debt. It is not popular to take $1 trillion of your hard-earned wealth and send it to the wealthiest 1%, as that bad bill just did. They cannot win on the merits of their policies, on the character that they present to this country, and so they're trying to steal the election of 26 in the summer of 25. You and I together have 15 months, not only to stop them and fight with everything that we've got, but also to offer our friends and family, neighbors and fellow El Pasoans and Texans, Americans, something to fight for. The vision that Donald Trump has is so damn regressive, right? Does anybody in this room want to go backwards in time?
I won't go back.
And I don't either. I don't even want to go backwards to the Biden administration or the Obama administration or the Clinton administration. As great presidents as they were, I think this country demands, rightfully so, big, bold, radical change in America. There has to be something that we are going to do. A vision that we can share with one another about how this people will be better when we stop the bad guys in power and elect more Democrats to replace it. So I want you to imagine, instead of saving a democracy, which is really confusing for people in 2024, they're like, what democracy are you trying to save? In Texas, millions of people are disenfranchised. In America, one man can spend $300 million trying to elect his preferred presidential candidate. In America, corporations are people, money is speech, and corporations are spending unlimited amounts of it purchasing the outcomes of elections and the policies that those officials pursue, and the future that all of us should be building together, but we're locked out of now. So how about a democracy where we get big money out of politics, where we roll back Citizens United, so all taxes are written to the people, and money is thrown on the streets in America. We set term limits on every single office at every level of government and on the very law. We pass term limits, organize and mismatch so people can actually pass it out. And after we win power, we get the politicians out of redistricting, and we return that power, all of that power, back to the people. That is democracy. That's something that exists today, and it's something that we fight for. But we have no hope of a political democracy. We can also create an economic one. In the last 5 decades, $50 trillion with a T has moved from lower and middle income Americans to the very wealthiest people in this country. And it is continuing a pace right now. I mentioned $1 trillion just is flowing right now from all of us in this room to the wealthiest 1% in this country. If people in this country cannot get what they need, and they're not asking for much from a government of the many, soon enough they're open to getting what they need from a government of the few, or a government even of only one. So let us talk about what this democracy can deliver for our fellow Americans. What if all those trillions of dollars were actually returned to the Americans who created that wealth in the first place, with their hard work, with their dedication to this country, with the rules that they live by, with the honest day that they live in each and every day. So you're guaranteed that one job is enough, and you don't need to work 2 or 3 just to make ends meet, especially if you're teaching school in El Paso, Texas. And so that you don't get sick at all, access to fresh and healthy food and clean drinking water, no matter where you live, the ability to buy a home if you're working for it, because too many of our fellow El Pasos right now are working for it and cannot afford one. And most importantly, ensuring that your child can go to a world-class public school right here in Paso, starting at home. Jackson was so eloquent about this, looking in the mirror and looking at our neighbor and our friend and our family member and making sure that we see ourselves in them. And so when that transgender American is being targeted at the top, you stand next to that transgender American and you can help them not wrong. Who's been called a thug, an animal, a rapist, a criminal, who is working the toughest job in America right now, breaking his back, busting his ass to make sure there's food on our table, a roof over our home, that this economy and country works. When he shows up at the federal courthouse tomorrow for his appointed time in front of that judge, with those ICE agents with their masks and their caps and their sunglasses and their tactical vests and, armed for war, are waiting outside to take him out, you show up and stand right next to him. And make sure that you tell his family where he is, tell his family members, stay in touch with him, make sure that he is not alone. You know, living in Texas, that's what my stories. 1973, abortion was just as illegal in the state of Texas as it is today. But no one came in from outside of the state to rescue the women of Texas. It was in fact 3 very young Texas women. You know Jane Mosley, right? Linda Coffey, one of the attorneys, Sarah Leggington, 26 years old. The most complicated case she had ever tried was a no-contest divorce. The 3 of them prevailed upon an all-male United States Supreme Court to render the Roe v. Wade decision, ensuring that every woman make her own decision about her own body, her own future, and her own outcome. So, message to Donald Trump: do not fuck with the women of Texas, or you are. And that's the most powerful country on the planet, human rights abroad. Imagine this: an America that is no longer complicit in the bombing and the starving and the slaughtering of tens of thousands of children and adults. And instead, we use the awesome power of this country to review the nations of the world that we have to ensure that we establish a sovereign, independent state for the Palestinian people, where for their sake and the sake of the Israeli people, and everyone in that region, serving peace and weekly prosperity, not just for them, but for all of us. And then bring that same logic back home and recommit ourselves to the Constitution, to due process, to the Bill of Rights, those protections that are being erased and destroyed right before our eyes over the last 7 months, and in this one. And I don't have to tell Jasmine, and I don't have to tell Joaquin, and I definitely don't even tell Veronica this. But the next time the Democrats hold power, because President Company excluded, they had talked a big game. And when we had the White House and the House and the Senate back in 2008, when we had the same back in 2020, we did great things, but we did not move an inch on immigration. So with Claudia Rowley's help and others who go and live in this experience, we're going to make sure that every dreamer is legal for life, every dreamer is married, is legal for life, continue to live to the greatness of this country as U.S. citizens. As we heard Congress in Wisconsin said at a town hall we were having in Milwaukee last week, when we win power again, we need to drive the car that we stole. Right? Everything we got on everything that we care about, on everyone who's being harmed right now, who can be so successful not just for themselves, but for this country, when their potential is finally unleashed. We can do this, right? Now, they don't want us to believe that we can. They want to intimidate us, they want to leave us hopeless, they want us to think that this is inevitable. It is up to us to decide differently. 1858, Lincoln's had one of those great debates with Douglas, and they're debating the essence of power in this country. And Lincoln says something to the effect that, you've got the presidency, pretty damn powerful, the Congress, the courts, the state legislatures, but more powerful than all of that is all of us. He called it public sentiment, and he said it is everything. With it, nothing can fail. Without it, nothing can succeed. So signing up for these groups, campaigning in Tony Gonzalez's district in 23, registering our fellow Texans here because of these statewide races for Attorney General, Governor, U.S. Senate, our votes in El Paso count just as much as votes in any other part of the state. We need to make sure that we get people out. Going to these protests, which are breaking through to our fellow Americans right now. No Kings rally, we talked about everyone's taking a chance. That stuff is working right now. It is changing how people see this president. New poll just came out, his numbers are at an all-time low, the lowest for any president, except for Donald Trump version 1, right? On immigration, his signature issue going into the 2024 election, he's polling at 35%. When you amplify what he is doing, who it is hurting, how un-American it is, this stuff is breaking through. Last thing, for that doubt that still remains in your head, looking at what we're up against right now. Let us remember who we are at the end of the day. I mean, here in El Paso, we had Lawrence Dixon, who wrote The White Primer. He fought that thing from 1923 to 1944. Individual elections, here in Paso. We have Beto O'Rourke, whose case before a different state judge integrated higher education for all of Texas in 1954. We have Beto O'Rourke, who wrote and passed the first ordinance to desegregate places of public accommodation anywhere in the United States of America, capital being in Paso, Texas. According to 66 years old, we are a town of underdogs to do against anyone, and we're Americans. And for the last 249 years, no matter what they have thrown at us, when we have chosen to come together, we have overcome it. We freed ourselves from the most powerful force on the planet, the British Empire, to ensure that we were free from ever being ruled by kings. Yep. 80 years later, we defeated the armies of the Confederacy to ensure that no longer could one American propose to own another. 300,000 Union dead in that effort, giving their last full measure of devotion to this country. Another 80 years, and men from this very community, including those in Company E, landed on those beaches in Normandy on the 6th of June, 1944, to defeat the Nazis and have them away, to protect democracy for our allies and for us here at home, and the generation that came up after them, who marched to the streets, who took to the State House steps, who got behind John Lewis on the 7th of March, 1965, ensured that the first president from the state of Texas, LBJ, would pass civil rights and the next the Voting Rights Act in this country. That is who we are. And all of us today, by our good luck as Americans, have inherited all that service, all that struggle, and all that sacrifice. And what we do with this great inheritance is going to define us in the eyes of history and will determine what is possible for this country going forward. So, no pressure. But this one is on us, and we cannot be found wanting. And my lesson from every turn of the page in that history book, whether it was 1944, whether it was 1933, whether it was 2025, you cannot allow the moment to pass before you begin to fight. So today, and every day that follows for the next 15 months until that election is called in November of 2026, I ask you to do all you can with what you have, wherever you are. If we hang together, we are going to overcome these bastards. We're going to win this fight. We're going to set our new